Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Hope you're well. If you're coming across this channel for the very first time, you're welcome. If you find any of my content useful, make sure you click on the subscribe button and also subscribe, like and share. Give the video a thumbs up. This video is for you if you're planning to naturalize as a British citizen, if you're planning to put in your application for a British citizen, haven't lived for the required numbers of years. Probably if you're on a 5-year route, you've fulfilled the 5-year route, you've passed your life in the UK test, you've passed your English test. But do you know there is still one more thing you need to put into consideration? Otherwise, your application might be refused, okay? So I'll be sharing with you that important thing that the UK is also looking at, having fulfilled every other requirement. That's one requirement, which is the good character requirement. So today I'll be sharing with you what the UK government actually mean when they say good character requirements. Of course, we may say good character, we know the meaning of good character, but the in-depth of it, what does it really mean? What would they be looking at when you put in your application? I know when you put in your application, there is a place in your form that asks you so many questions about if you've been involved in any terrorism or if you've supported any terrorism organization, if you've been involved, if you have any criminal record and all that. There is, when you're filling your application on that form, there's that aspect, there's that section where you have to tell it all there. All right, so I'll be sharing with you any other thing that they will be looking at when you're putting for that good character requirement. The good character requirement applies to a person who is age 10 or over at the time of putting in for the application. Anyone who is age 10, from age 10 to 17 is a young person, and 18 above is an adult. So the good character requirements will be checked from anyone that is putting. If you have a child that is 10 years and above, they will also be checked for the good character requirement. So let us quickly look at a young person, the requirement for a young person. If whether a child is of a good character, you must take account of any mitigation relevant to the child's particular circumstances. In the case of a looked after child who is in local authority care, you must consider whether it is appropriate to ask the person if they wish to include additional representation made on their behalf by their local authority if it was not already made available at the point of application. Where a child has been convicted of a criminal offense, sentencing guidelines require that any custodial or non-custodial sentence is adjusted to take into account this child's age and particular circumstances and any mitigating factor such as their ability to understand the consequences of their action. Okay, therefore, although the criminal sentence threshold for refusal and non-custodial sentencing guidelines for adults will normally apply to a child who has been convicted of a criminal offense, the lesser sentence handed down to them may mean they are less likely to meet the higher threshold. Okay, let us move over to the adults. What will the UK government check when you put in your application to become a British citizen as an adult? Okay, they're going to look at your the criminal record, the criminality. Probably you've gotten any criminal record in the past, or is still ongoing. Maybe you have a criminal record that's still ongoing. Okay, having a criminal record does not necessarily mean that an application will be refused. Okay, it is worthy to note that even if you have a criminal record, this does not necessarily mean that your application will be refused. However, a person who has not shown respect for or is not prepared to abide by the law is unlikely to be considered of good character. A person will normally be refused. Here are the conditions where an application might be refused. If the person received a custodial sentence of at least 12 months in the UK or overseas. Wow. So if a person has been, custodial sentence, it actually means that you have a case that ended up in court and you went, the judge decided to put that person behind bars. Okay. So if the person has received a custodial sentence of at least 12 months in the UK or overseas, if the person have consecutive sentences totaling at least 12 months in the UK or overseas, if the person is a persistent offender who shows a particular disregard for the law, if the UK government, the Home Office, they detect that this person is a persistent offender, a serial offender that is always committing the same offense, and the person is not showing any regard to the to the law, then the application might be refused. If the person has committed an offense which has caused serious harm, if the person committed any kind of crime that causes harm to another person or to a community, the application might be refused. If the person has committed a sexual offense or their details are recorded by the police on a register, when they put in for the application, it will be refused. A person must be refused if they have a custodial sentence of less than 12 months. A person must, this is said now, this definitely, the application of anyone that has had this kind of crime will be refused if they have a custodial sentence of less than 12 months, if a non-custodial sentence or out-of-court disposal recorded on their criminal record. He said, even if they didn't end up behind bars, but it is being recorded in their criminal record. Here we have, even in your workplace, every year you do criminal check. They call it DBS checks. Okay, here they check whether you fit in for that kind of job you're doing, and if they detect that, oh no, after going for that DBS check, and they brought it back that person has got a record that doesn't fit for that kind of job, that person cannot be taken back into that into that job. So also, if it is being recorded, the person has got a criminal record, then when they put in for the application, it will be refused. Another reason why that application might be refused is if anyone has is involved in other criminal and suspected criminal activity. If the person is involved in any criminal or suspected criminal activity, if you have got a pending charges and prosecution, a person may be the subject of investigation by law enforcement before they are charged with an offense, or they may have already been charged and are waiting to go to court. Pending charges and prosecution may be discovered through criminality checks because they are self-declared by the person, or through information passed to the Home Office. Citizenship will not normally be granted to a person who has a pending charge or prosecution. So if anyone has got an ongoing case and they put in for the application, I'm afraid that application will not pull through. That is what that place simply means. Okay. When an applicant has a pending prosecution, you must consider if the outcome of the pending charge or prosecution would have a material impact on the application for citizenship. If the person is involved in international crime, terrorism, and other non-conductive activity. Okay, let us look at that. If the person is involved in any war crime against peace or humanity, genocide, and serious human rights violation. If there is information to suggest that the person has been involved in international crimes or serious human rights violations, they will not normally be considered to be of good character, and the application will fall to be refused. You must refuse an application if the person's activity casts serious doubt on their character. Example of such activity includes involvement in or association with war crimes, crimes against humanity, supporting the commission of those crimes, supporting groups whose main purpose or mode of operation consists of the committing of such crimes, even if that support did not make any direct contribution to the group or war crimes, crimes against humanity, or see if you've written up, probably if you put up something on Facebook or any of your social media platforms to support any war crime, or or anything that violates human rights, you might be refused. So let us look at the financial soundness. This section explains the financial situation that can affect a person's good character and how to consider them when deciding an application. Bankruptcy. Bankruptcy occurs when a person is unable to meet their debts and has had a bankruptcy order made against them. A bankruptcy order can be made by a court after a petition, either by the individual or on a voluntary basis, or by a creditor or creditors. Fraud can also can occur during the bankruptcy process. This can take a number of forms, but may typically involve concealment of assets, fraudulent claims, false statements or declaration. Making false declaration on bankruptcy form can constitute perjury, where there is information to suggest on the balance of probabilities that bankruptcy fraud has taken place. The application will normally be refused. So if they notice that you didn't give a correct information, probably you're trying to evade payment of debt, and you declare bankruptcy, and long last they notice that the what you gave, the account you gave, were all false, then you be refused when you put in for your naturalization. Another one, liquidation. Liquidation occurs when a company is wound up. There are also alternatives to liquidation that may come up during the course of a citizenship application. This include informal arrangements. The company may have considered writing to all its creditors to see if a mutually acceptable agreement can be reached. It just goes on and on financial soundness. Let us look at deception and dishonesty is another form. Deception and dishonesty, this section explains the type of deception or dishonesty to consider when assessing good character in citizenship application. Concealment of information or lack of frankness will raise doubts about and therefore reflect poorly on the applicant's character. When they ask you a question, when you're filling your application and you're not saying the whole truth, it can lead to refusal. An application will normally be refused only when the person has attempted to lie or conceal the truth about an aspect of their application. Deceitful or dishonest dealing with Her Majesty government. An application will normally be refused when a person has attempted to deceive or otherwise been clearly dishonest in their dealing with another government department. When you are not liable to public funds, when you're on a visa, they will write it, it will be stated clearly that you're not liable for public funds. But some people, I don't know how they do it, that they go make claims to public funds, and when they discover that your kind of visa does not allow you to, that's fraud. That's dishonesty, that's fraud, and you get caught when you're putting in for your application. All these things will speak against you. Fraudulent claiming, you are defrauding the benefit system, unlawful assessing service, for example, housing or health care, for which access is controlled by immigration legislation, okay, providing dishonest information in order to acquire goods or services. Let us look at another one, notarial. This session explains what is meant by that and how to consider it when assessing good character. Notorious behavior, when you are notorious for some bad quality or immoral deeds. Wow. When you are notorious, you're known for your bad character. So example is publicly expressing unsavory views on the subject such as race, religion or sexuality, which do not fall within the definition of extremism, but persistently and deliberately flouting the law. Persistent antisocial behavior such as public drug use or excessive noise pollution. All these things might speak against you when you put in for your application. Immigration related issue, deportation order. They will ask you this question: have you had any have you been refused any kind of visa? These are the questions that they expect you to say the truth. But if you are hiding it and no, you've not been refused any kind of visa, they ask you, have you been refused any kind of visa either to the UK or to any country, and they eventually, you said no, and they eventually found out, then you're not saying the truth. Yeah, on that basis your application might be refused. Deportation order, if the applicant is the subject of an extant deportation order, they will normally fall to be refused. Okay. Sham marriages or civil partnership. If you're involved in a sham marriages, an application will normally be refused when there is evidence that the person has entered to enter into a sham marriage to assist another person. You know what they mean by sham marriage. Just you're paying, you're not really in a relationship, okay, just to get your documents. These are the things that might cause refusal. Another one I found here is abuse of the English language or knowledge of life in the UK test. An application will normally be refused when there is evidence that a person has practiced deception in knowledge of life in the UK or English tests in the 10 years prior to the application. For this purpose, the deception is regarded as continuing until the date on which it is discovered or admitted. Maybe you allow someone to sit on your behalf, that's deceit. It will be refused. Okay. Failing to pay litigation costs. Litigation debt is a debt owed to the Home Office where the court or tribunal has ordered another party to pay a legal cost. So anyone that is found in that, their application will be refused. Immigration breaches. An immigration breach is where a person has failed to comply with immigration requirements. For example, failing to comply with conditions attached to a grant of a permission to enter or stay in the UK. That's an overstayer. Accessing public funds when prohibited from doing so. I've mentioned that. When we are not allowed public funds and you went ahead to apply for that. Accessing public funds where prohibited from doing so. Failing to report without reasonable excuse when required to do so. Assisting illegal immigration. Working in the UK without permission to do so. You came on a visit visa and you're caught working. Hiring illegal workers. Failing to comply with the requirements of the immigration. These are the things that will be looked into when checking for good character requirements. So abuse of immigration requirements may also occur if a person enters or remains in the UK for a purpose other than for which they were given leave to enter or remain. These are the things that the UK will check. if you're an overstayer, illegal entry, absconding, failing to comply with the requirements of the EE regulation 2016, and lots more, and lots more, and lots more. You can just go the UK Gov site to check what they actually mean by the good character requirement. Till I call your way again, see you some other time.